Hello and welcome. I'm Johan Castell and you're watching Tech It Out. Today's episode is all about artificial intelligence and some of the amazing developments we have seen recently in the field of generative AI. Here's what we have lined up for you.
Artificial intelligence going to replace your brain? That's the question I want to ask you all today.
AI-generated art is creating ripples. An artificial intelligence-powered chatbot has become a viral sensation. AI tools that can help boost your productivity. And what will our future look like if it is dominated by AI?
2022 was a turning point for generative artificial intelligence. It gained popularity rapidly. AI is increasingly being used to create art, but this has also sparked debate among artists and industry experts.
2022 was the year that really put generative artificial intelligence on the map. In the last few months, we have seen many stories about how creative artists are using artificial intelligence to make art that leverages powerful AI technology. It's also sparked a debate. Like these AI-generated portraits of Indian brides and grooms from different states. It caused a stir on social media. Users on Twitter felt that AI picked the most stereotypical traits of certain communities and highlighted them. Our take: we think that although the AI is far from perfect, the portraits are nonetheless really impressive. Here's another example. While most northern parts of India are engulfed in a bitter cold wave, they are not experiencing snowfall. This artist came up with the idea of letting AI generate images of what famous landmarks covered in snow would look like. This one shows images of daily life in India. Who can overlook the alien that's casually inserted into the scene? Here is another interesting AI art. Countries from around the world are generated as a villain. Again, the stereotyping kicks in. Sweden and Norway are generated as Viking-like characters. China is represented by a dragon. Japan's villain is a samurai. Greece has a Greek godlike character. Italy has a Roman warrior. While Australia has a boxing kangaroo? Irritating or entertaining? We'll let you decide. Currently, the hype around generative AI is enormous, and it's only growing. Gartner included it in its Emerging Technologies and Trends Impact Radar back in 2021. Today we are starting to see just how disruptive and fast the evolution and adoption of this technology has been in the last 12 months. But what is generative artificial intelligence, and should you care about it? Well, the technology could potentially replace the job you are currently doing for a living, so don't sleep on this. Generative AI is a subset of machine learning. It refers to semi-supervised and unsupervised machine learning algorithms that enable computers to use images, video, audio, text, and even code to create something new. The idea here is to generate new content that looks like the real deal. This method allows computers to abstract, understand, and learn underlying patterns related to the input data, so the model can output new material. Some of the practical uses of generative AI include creating realistic images, videos, and audio, improving natural language processing tasks, and much more. What kind of workers is it likely to replace? One would think jobs that can be automated are the most at risk, so this would mean cashiers, drivers, and waiters would be likely to be replaced first. Professional artists are not on the list. However, today, a lot of artists are campaigning for a ban on AI art, as it is taking away both jobs and revenue. The AI art we have seen generated by artists comes from a few different sources. The first service to go viral was OpenAI's Dall-e, revealed in January 2021. Dall-e 2 was opened up to 1 million users in July 2022 and eventually opened up to everyone in September of that year. There's also Midjourney, currently in open beta since July 2022. The quality of the generated images seems more detailed as far as our experimentation goes, and it's also placed higher on Google Trends. Then came Stability AI's Stable Diffusion, released in August of 2022. This open source release had one of the fastest adoption rates, and it's clear that a lot of developers are keen to get to work on this emerging technology. Here are some of the visuals generated from these models. Truly breathtaking.
From the time of the first computer was developed, scientists have been fascinated with the potential of machines to change our world. But how did we get from the early days of AI to where we are now?
Well, here goes. I'm now going to press the switch.
The electronic random number indicating equipment, Ernie, to you, then got very busy.
Colossus was the world's first programmable electronic digital computer. British codebreakers used it during the Second World War. Ever since the first computer's development, scientists have fantasized about how computers can change our world. The Turing test is legendary. The visionary British mathematician wrote a paper about machine intelligence way back in 1950. He asked, "Can machines think?" However, the term artificial intelligence was coined by John McCarthy 6 years later. In 1956, the American computer scientist used it at the Dartmouth Conference. He described a machine that could learn and improve, much like a human. In 1958, American psychologist Frank Rosenblatt tried to create an artificial brain that could learn skills. Called perceptron, it was intended to model how the human brain processed visual data and learned to recognize objects. These experiments weren't successful, however. Decades later, another scientist revived the idea of simulating brain neurons, this time with more success than Rosenblatt. Geoffrey Hinton is considered to be a superstar in the world of AI. The British-Canadian cognitive psychologist and computer scientist was instrumental in the fundamental research that brought about the AI revolution.
It seemed to me there's no other way the brain could work. It has to work by learning the strengths of connections. And if you want to make a device do something intelligent, you've got two options. You can program it or it can learn.
Right.
And we certainly weren't programmed, so we had to learn. So this had to be the right way to go.
The multi-layer approach is now called deep neural networks. The computers are now more powerful and could handle this level of computation. The birth of modern AI happened around September 2012. Geoffrey and his team broke new ground with an image recognition test. They scored more than 40% better than their closest competitor. After this, everyone started using neural networks for this challenge. Within 5 years, computers were better than humans at the task. In 2016, researchers from Google trained a computer to play a Chinese board game called Go.
Artificial intelligence researchers has solved the game of Go a decade earlier than expected. The computer, named AlphaGo, was able to beat the European human champion.
This game is one of the most challenging for artificial intelligence due to its complexity. AlphaGo, the computer program, beat the Go world champion at the time by an astonishing 4-1. Google DeepMind Challenge brought artificial intelligence capabilities to the forefront of public consciousness.
일단 너무 놀랬고요. 사실 뭐 진다고 생각을 안 했는데 이렇게 너무 놀랬고. 일단 오늘 바둑적으로 얘기를 하자면은 초반에 실패가 끝까지 이어지지 않았나 싶고요.
The floodgates opened for interest, research, and funding in the space. Soon enough, AI was tackling video, speech, science, and gaming, making artificial intelligence mainstream. Today, AI is everywhere, even if the user does not realize it is being deployed. It could be in the form of video recommendations for streaming platforms, smart traffic lights, self-driving cars, pricing structures for cabs, and so much more. The AI field is progressing exponentially. It's as if society is at a turning point. We can now use the technology to perform tasks once thought impossible, such as image and voice recognition and generation. We see evidence of this in the fast adoption rates of the latest AI tools released in the past 6 months, most notably in OpenAI's ChatGPT.
We have certainly come a long way in terms of developing new computing capabilities. In December last year, an artificial intelligence-powered chatbot created a storm on the internet. OpenAI's ChatGPT crossed 1 million users in less than a week since it was officially made available to the public.
We've shown you OpenAI's Dall-e image generator that was made available to the public last year.
Through deep learning, it not only understands individual objects, like koala bears and motorcycles, but learns from relationships between objects. And when you ask Dall-e for an image of a koala bear riding a motorcycle, it knows how to create that or anything else with a relationship to another object or action.
But that's not the only thing the company released that raised eyebrows in 2022. The conversational language model ChatGPT was created in 2019 and opened to the public in November 2022. It is free to use, and we decided to try it out. And let me tell you, it is one of those things that can blow your mind repeatedly. Interestingly, the true depth of what ChatGPT can offer might not be evident at first glance. After your first few searches, you might think that this is just a bot that gathers information for you and presents it, like a search engine. But you can unlock many things by simply prompting the bot in different ways. The dialogue format allows the chatbot to answer follow-up questions, reject inappropriate requests, challenge incorrect premises, and even admit mistakes. You can ask for song lyrics for a new song from a musician who may no longer be alive, and the bot will create it. You can ask for a new script for a movie in the style of a blockbuster flick, and it will be created in seconds. You can ask for computer code, and the bot will write it for you and even explain how it works. You can get this bot to help you with your homework, thesis, or assignment. The model is even good enough to get an average SAT score. But can the bot analyze and write like a human? Listen to psychologist Jordan Peterson describe his experience.
Some of you know I've written these books, 12 Rules for Life, and then Beyond Order, 12 more rules, because, you can't have enough rules. And I asked it, this is what I asked it to do. I said, write me an essay that's a 13th rule for Beyond Order, written in a style that combines the King James Bible with the Tao Te Ching. That's pretty difficult to pull off, Any one of those things is hard. The intersection of all three, that's impossible. Well, it wrote it in about 3 seconds, 4 pages long, and it isn't obvious to me, for better or worse, that I would be able to tell that I didn't write it. A computer engineer who purported to work for Tesla, he asked ChatGPT, said, look, I work for Elon Musk, but I haven't been doing much for the last week, so I need you to write me 10 bullet points about what I probably would have done as an engineer at Twitter. What 10 things did I do last week that were productive and valuable? And, oh, if you don't mind, write me the accompanying computer code that goes with each project. And it did that too, 3 seconds, and the computer code works.
So what's next for OpenAI? The CEO, Sam Altman, thinks language models will experience a new surge in popularity.
I think language models are going to go just much, much further than people think. What a lot of people say about, running out of compute, running out of data, like, that's all true, but I think there's so much algorithmic progress to come that we're going to have like a very exciting time. Another thing is I think we will get true multimodal models working. And so, not just text and images, but every modality you'd like. I think we will have models that continuously learn. So like right now, if you use GPT, whatever, it's sort of like stuck in time that it was trained. And the more you use it, it doesn't get any better and all of that. I think we'll get that changed. So very excited about all of that. And if you just think about like what that alone is going to unlock and the sort of applications people will be able to build with that, that would be like a huge victory for all of us and just like a massive step forward and a genuine technological revolution if that were all that happened. But I think we're likely to keep making research progress into new paradigms as well. We've been like pleasantly surprised on the upside about what seems to be happening. And I think all these questions about like new knowledge generation, how do we really advance humanity? I think there will be systems that can help us with that.
In 2019, Microsoft invested $1 billion in OpenAI. According to reports, the company is in discussions to invest another $10 billion. With a possible integration between ChatGPT and the Microsoft search engine Bing, we might have a credible competitor to Google Search for the first time in decades. New startup companies will likely use the base models trained by OpenAI, but training large AI models is costly, and the number of competitors with enough resources to build their own versions to compete could be quite low, according to Sam Altman.
I think in some sense the startups will train their own models, just not from the beginning. They will take base models that are like hugely trained with a gigantic amount of compute and data. And then they will train on top of those to create, the model for each vertical. And that those startups, so in some sense they are training their own models, just not from scratch, but they're doing the 1% of training that really matters for whatever this use case is going to be. Those startups, I think, there will be hugely successful and very differentiated startups there.
This system's power and possibilities are promising, and we'll keep our eyes on how this space develops over the next few years.
With more and more companies incorporating AI into their operations, it's not easy to keep up with all the new tools and applications that are now available. But don't worry, we've got you covered.
The internet is overflowing with new companies capitalizing on this new trend. And it seems as if every other company is now what it was before, plus AI. But what are some of the standout applications and tools we have seen that can help you increase your productivity? Here are a few of our favorites.
When the stakes are high at work, your tone matters. Grammarly's advanced tone suggestions can help. Because when you write with just the right confident tone, you can meet any challenge to move your project forward.
First up is a tool you might have heard of, Grammarly. The company says its AI system combines machine learning with a variety of natural language processing approaches. This tool can fine-tune your writing tone to ensure your communication is well received, even adding brand tones and style guides, making this our top recommendation. Next up is video powerhouse Runway ML, which has introduced what they call AI magic tools through a web browser-based application that has a free version. Some of these tools are powerful and would otherwise require lots of training in softwares like Adobe After Effects. In Runway, you can do this quickly and easily by utilizing AI. The tools are powerful and can save you a lot of time by improving your workflow. Some companies leverage AI in the legal field, an example of which is Link Squares. This company uses machine learning to understand contracts, reducing the need to manually stay on top of everything, from terms and conditions to legal obligations and renewal dates. It even works with Microsoft Word, so you can do everything in the same software without switching back and forth. And while we are on the topic of AI in the field of law, look at this story. DoNotPay.com's robot lawyer claims to have solved more than 2 million cases and will now take on speeding tickets in court. The AI will instruct the defendants how to respond to the judge through an earpiece, which can prove helpful, especially for those who cannot afford legal assistance.
So, how will artificial intelligence affect you? Will you be replaced by an automated function in a future application developed by one of these emerging startup companies? What will happen to the millions of people whose jobs will be phased out? What happens if the AI we develop becomes sentient and does not care much for humans in relation to its own interests? This is called the alignment problem. One day, we might even be able to use artificial intelligence to help us do more in-depth research on this problem. The number of people affected might be so large that we will need to adopt universal basic income to maintain our societies. Is that really what our society will look like when artificial intelligence is everywhere? We hate to say it, but only time will tell.